Nearly every day we see women on the front lines fighting the coronavirus pandemic, holding families and communities together. Yet across the globe, women are the hardest hit by COVID-19's economic fallout. This week we look at the challenges in finding and keeping a job these days and how women are still shortchanged in the workplace. We'll also bring you the stories of people who have found new ways to stay afloat and stay in business during the pandemic. Hello and welcome. I'm Hayley Adams Fitzpatrick. Thank you for joining us here on Our Voices. Experts say women are paying the highest price for this pandemic, losing their jobs and incomes at an alarming rate. The United Nations estimates that about 47 million women and girls could be pushed into extreme poverty by the end of this year, and that women of colour face especially high rates of unemployment. Esha Sarai has more.
While employment has dropped across the world during the COVID-19 pandemic, the economic impacts on women have been particularly harsh, according to the United Nations.
Women, who represent 70% of all healthcare workers, have been among those most affected by the pandemic and among those leading the response to it. Gender inequalities have increased dramatically in the past year as women bear the brunt of school closures and working from home.
UN data show employment losses for women stand at roughly 5% globally, compared to 3.9% for men.
Mothers and children were saying they didn't have anything to eat. That broke my heart. Why? I have lived like that, and as a mother, seeing your children hungry and not being able to give them something, even a candy or a bread, so at least they don't cry from hunger.
In the United States, employment losses were particularly high among Black and Latina women, according to the CEO of a platform that promotes the careers of women of color.
The industries in which Black and brown women heavily are employed by, so hospitality, leisure, some of those industries have a very high concentration of Black and brown women. And so in 2020, we realized that a lot of those industries were heavily affected. Therefore, it affected the women who were employed there, who are no longer employed.
Despite facing economic challenges and shouldering the burden of childcare as schools close, women around the world have found ways to use their skills and inspire others.
My son told me, "Mom, let's do something productive. Some YouTube channels they see don't teach anything. Let's teach them how to farm, or teach them something. Let's give them hope."
We believe that women are strong and we can make a change. We too have abilities and can work alongside men.
For many women globally, the biggest immediate challenge may be to just stay afloat in a pandemic-ravaged world. Esha Sarai, VOA News.
It happens in most industries, workplace worries for women that predate the pandemic. A recent study in Kenya confirms that the more things change for women, the more they seem to stay the same. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers says it has found that women are dominating the country's top mechanized jobs, but men still own most businesses and have better paying jobs. One Kenyan businesswoman spoke to Victoria Amunga about her experiences.
Baringo, Marakwet, Tukobat. This place has a lot of vegetation.
Esther Kojwang's natural foods packaging farm has grown by leaps and bounds since she started it 5 years ago. She and other women are leaders in Kenyan manufacturing, but Kojwang says it still can be difficult to deal with men in the industry.
Like, for example, you want to supply your honey to a big company. And the procurement manager might be a man who might want more from you than you're willing to give. You just want to do clean business, but once a man is the procurement manager, that proves to be an obstacle because they'll want much more.
Despite Kenyan men having most and better paid manufacturing jobs, Kenyan women are dominating the sector's top careers. A September Kenya's Association of Manufacturers survey says even male owners seem to prefer having women run their factories, with 89% of their senior managers being women.
What this demonstrates is that when you have also boards or leaders who support the growth of women within the manufacturing sector, you tend to see policies put in place that mainstream gender into the boardroom, and what this leads to is that more women are able to rise to top leadership positions.
But women owners like Kojwang are still a minority, with men owning 73% of Kenya's factories. The center that ran the survey says most women factory owners have only appeared in the last decade.
Why they're going into it? Because they're seeing it's a lucrative sector. It's a sector that has opportunities. But we have to understand that even though we're having more women go into manufacturing, right, most of their jobs and most of their businesses are actually informal.
Mugenyi says those companies that do have more women attract and retain talent and are better able to gauge consumer interest and demand. To help level the playing field, Kenyan authorities say they're helping to fund women manufacturers.
We have various programs and projects to support women in manufacturers. First, we have the Women Enterprise Fund, which is available. We are giving loans. We have partnered with our other institutions, for instance, Micro and Small Enterprise Authority. We are giving funds to women.
That gives Kenya's women manufacturing leaders more hope for a just future in the industry. Victoria Amunga for VOA News, Nairobi.
Kenya's farming industry, one of the world's largest, is facing job losses after a court ruled against a labor union's attempt to ban tea leaf harvesting machines. Workers there fear the machines will take their jobs. But tea farm owners, on the other hand, believe mechanization will make the industry more productive. Brenda Mulinya has more for us from Kericho.
Harvesting tea leaves in Kenya's tea belt in the Rift Valley has traditionally been done by hand. This labor-intensive practice is said to ensure the region produces the high-quality tea that is among the country's top foreign exchange earners. But now, machines are replacing human labor in the tea plantations. Zipporah Onserio lost her job plucking tea leaves because of the harvesting machines.
They brought machines. Most of the fields we used to work in have been turned over to machines and tractors. Now, people who pluck tea by hand, we are jobless.
Onserio was one of hundreds of employees at a tea plantation in Kericho, some 270 kilometers west of Nairobi. The union representing workers like her say job losses are likely to increase.
Before the introduction of machines, Bomet alone, we used to have over 50,000 employees, over 50,000. But as we are talking now, I can tell you the number is around 5,000 to 7,000.
Multinational companies in the tea belt have argued in court that the harvesting machines will help cut production costs by more than half, making their product more competitive in the world market. But trade unionists say mechanization has a high human cost, with some 10,000 people already laid off even before the recent court verdict ruling in favor of the tea companies. For a region that depends on the income from tea workers, community leaders say the impact of even greater job losses will be dire.
Insecurity will become a major problem. The unemployed youth will take out their frustrations on the wealthy, and the wealthy will bear the burden of the entire community.
Despite the possible job losses, the Kenya Tea Growers Association says embracing mechanization is the only way to keep the sector alive.
One machine, its cost of production is about 40% less than if you are to use a hand machine in an acre of land. So you look at it and you see you're able to balance your cost of production, you're able to remain in the business, you're able to assure business continuity for the remaining workers who you have on your employment.
The association adds that machines will never replace the need for human labor in the tea estates. Brenda Mulinya for VOA News, Kericho, Kenya.
After the break, why some musicians in Zimbabwe are changing their tune and turning to farming. And we'll show you how a Nigerian-born entrepreneur is helping position immigrant businesses for success here in the United States. We'll be right back. We're bringing women's voices to the conversation, and more than that, we're building a community of inclusion and empowerment.
Here in Kinshasa, campaigns to raise awareness against the spread of coronavirus are common, but getting that information to people who have no access to water, electricity, or money can be a challenge.
We are here at Kalerwe Market in Uganda, Kampala, where in this whole market, women are crying out for their situations to change.
For women, it will be better for us.
I think a big thing for me is just being able to say that when these protests are happening, does it turn around into policy?
Our kids are raped every single day.
This movement got the government to listen. It really was powerful because it showed what is possible when men and women band together and say enough is enough.
It's not necessary anymore to climb on a car. I can be in any place to cheer with the people.
You're watching Our Voices. Welcome back. Strict COVID-19 lockdown measures have forced musicians around the world to reimagine their lives. It's no different in Zimbabwe, where it's become near impossible to earn a living making music. Live performances and events, even online concerts, have been banned. Zimbabwe's National Arts Council says their 67,000 members are now in need of financial assistance. And as Columbus Mavunga reports, some are turning to farming to make ends meet.
Diana Samkangenya Zema is a well-known award-winning musician who frequently performed in Zimbabwe and other African countries. But for now, she can be found at this farm about an hour's drive west of Harare. She is now farming because of COVID-19 and is not looking back.
So music is going to be my first love, but I need to survive. So that's why I had to venture into agriculture. So I love the whole stability which comes with it.
The 32-year-old Afro-pop singer co-owns the farm with her husband, Calvin Nyazema. They are putting in irrigation pipes and also have set up beehives to collect what she calls eucalyptus honey from their tree plantation. Zimbabwe's government recognizes the plight of musicians like her who have not been able to work because of the coronavirus lockdowns.
We are working on more of a stimulus package because we realize relief may never take us anywhere. But the government, through the Department of Social Welfare, continuously assists Zimbabweans that are in need.
But critics say the government needs to increase relief payments of $12 a month to families affected by the lockdowns. They say the funds are not enough to buy bread to feed a family for a month.
So you've got to be resourceful for your own sake. And you can bring in the rest of the family and say, let's work together and add to the income of the family with small things that each person can do.
Samkangenya Zema appears to be following that advice and plans to invest more in livestock if she gets funding. In the meantime, she's looking forward to a bountiful corn harvest from a 20-hectare field on her farm in the coming weeks. Columbus Mavunga for VOA News, Mazowe, Zimbabwe.
He calls it a superpower, helping small business owners position themselves for success through storytelling. Benga Ogunjimi is a Washington-based brand expert. He says it's not just about the products that you sell, but the story that you tell. And now Ogunjimi has made a documentary about how entrepreneurs can unlock the power of their business stories. I spoke to him earlier here in Washington. Benga, why do you say that the story of a business is almost as important as the success of the business itself?
Well, first and foremost, businesses are people, and everyone has a story to tell. My work as a business story coach would often say, people do not buy what you sell, they buy the stories that you tell. And as entrepreneurs, we concentrate and take on the identity of what we do. Through storytelling, we are able to build a community. We are able to activate communities of customers, of clients, and investors, because at the end of the day, people listen to our stories with the filter of their own stories. So, which is important? I don't think it's either or. I think ultimately storytelling is a pathway and strategy for business success. And businesses that understand this really try. And that is the whole idea of business storytelling.
Now, Benga, you're a part of the African diaspora. You work with small businesses. What do immigrant entrepreneurs bring to the Washington, D.C. area and its economy?
When African or immigrant entrepreneurs come into Washington, D.C. or coming into the United States of America, it is also important for them to go through a shift in perspective, to recognize that now that they're in this country, they fit into a bigger community. That designation is called minority-owned business. In making a transition to that identity, it allows them to break off these silos of just catering to an immigrant community, but really participating in the local economy of the city in which they live in. I think that is a wonderful opportunity. And Washington, D.C. truly provides that platform. In Washington, D.C., we have the Office of the Mayor of African Affairs. We have several immigrant community centers. We also have several business support agencies dedicated to supporting minority and immigrant entrepreneurs. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity. And those entrepreneurs from overseas continue to make immense contribution to the economy of Washington, D.C. and America as a whole.
So you've created this small business documentary, which is now featured on Amazon Prime's video platform. Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, I recently produced Good to Great Stories, a small business documentary. And that documentary tells the story of 7 entrepreneurs in the historic Washington, D.C. Historic community called Anacostia.
We could have a shift in our community if we had better options in our community.
I was working in retail, but I wasn't connected to what I was seeing around me.
Position yourself so that when the door opens, you'll be able to walk through that door.
These entrepreneurs are changing the narrative of that community from one of struggle and scarcity to opportunity and growth. And I thought it was important to create a platform to tell that story. And also, if you look into what is going on in the country, around the world with the pandemic, a lot of businesses are going through crisis and pivoting and loss of job. And there's a lot of stories of negativity, of pain, of loss, of scarcity. I thought it's important to pivot and change that narrative. And this particular documentary provided me the opportunity to do so. So I'm very excited. All the entrepreneurs are Black and brown. All the entrepreneurs are minority and immigrant. And if they can tell a story, so is everyone else. I think that's the magic of this documentary.
Benga Ogunjimi, brand expert and the man behind Good to Great Stories, thank you so much for speaking to us. We're going to take a short break here, and when we come back, from Senegal to Vietnam, how social media has helped 2 women find a following and an income online. Stay with us. You're watching Our Voices. Welcome back. The COVID-19 pandemic has upended many lives and careers everywhere, leaving people wondering how to bounce back. And that's what happened to Tinashe Mazodze. The Zimbabwean-born South African chased her dream career as an English teacher all the way to Vietnam. But when the COVID-19 pandemic shut down schools and her income, she had 2 choices: wait for things to go back to normal or rethink her career for a new normal.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người, mình tên là Tinashe Mazodze, mình là giáo viên dạy tiếng Anh ở Việt Nam. Mình sinh ra ở Zimbabwe và mình lớn lên ở Nam Phi. Hello everybody, and my name is Tinashe Mazodze, and I was born in Zimbabwe. I grew up in South Africa, and I am an English teacher in Vietnam. Okay, so going all the way back to when I was in high school, I was obsessed with K-dramas and K-pop So already from the get-go, I already had an attraction and a connection to Asia as a whole. Being in Hanoi, the capital city, where it's one of the most traffic congested places in the world, was quite overwhelming, as well as the weather. In South Africa, it's hot, but it's dry hot, whereas in Vietnam, it's hot but humid. So that was an adjustment, but the biggest challenge of them all had to definitely be the language barrier, especially in the very beginning when I arrived in Vietnam and did not know a single word of Vietnamese. So I think what I did to overcome that challenge was I immersed myself in the Vietnamese community, and by that I mean I decided to move to a Vietnamese dominated area. And after 9 months of being in Vietnam, I made a video of myself speaking in Vietnamese. I just uploaded it on the internet and it went viral. And after that, I got invited to be on a game show called Gap God on Tay on the national channel, and the whole show was in Vietnamese. And I had just been speaking Vietnamese for 9 months, and I actually ended up winning the game show with my game show partner, which was amazing. And from there, I got many opportunities to do voice overs, TV presenting. So that game show gave me a lot of opportunities, and it was basically almost like my foot in the door. So when COVID started, I was in Hai Duong City, and during this time we were all very scared of the unknown. We didn't know what was happening, so all the schools actually closed in Vietnam. So I wasn't working. This was quite a tough time because I didn't know what was next, what was going to happen. I decided to actually just go back to South Africa. So I booked my ticket, went back to South Africa with the intention of coming back, obviously. I was just waiting for things to go back to normal, and then I realized, are things really going to go back to normal? So I decided to adapt. I then started my online business, teaching English, and it started booming, and now I have so many students, and with that came so many more opportunities. I now do voiceovers for many different companies in Vietnam. I do translating as well. So I just do many different things, and I'm so busy, and I'm so grateful that I am able to work online in these times. Don't be afraid to try something new. Instead of waiting for things to go back to how they were, I think just go in with a different mindset. I think adapting is the best thing we can do in these times. So it won't be the same for everybody. But again, don't be afraid of trying something new, and even changing up your career if you have to. I guess that's the advice I'd have.
Tinashe Mazodze there, showing us how to adapt. And finally, her dishes are mouth-watering to watch, and her fans crave her Instagram page. This is the story of a Senegal-based food blogger who's cooking her way into the ever-expanding world of African social media influencers. And she's found the perfect recipe for mixing cooking, content, and creativity.
It took Carré Vignon-William the better part of a decade to build up the first 10,000 followers on Instagram. That was 3 years ago. Now she has 10 times that number of fans following her on social media, with international brands clamoring for a piece of the pie.
Today, this is all we do. When we are proud of something, we put it on social media.
And that is how Vignon-William became a food blogger, successfully building an audience and her brand in Francophone Africa and in the diaspora around the world. Her African-inspired dishes, prepared in her home in Senegal, are a feast for the eyes.
I know that my followers really love African food because it's colorful, it's tasteful. I prepare like all kind of food, but I know that my followers, when I post mafé or Tchéboudian or African recipes, they really react. They like, they comment, they share.
Her social media posts are consistent and creative, earning Vignon William partnerships with food companies, airlines, and furniture manufacturers, all looking to cash in on her recipe for how to cook, look, and live.
We are lifestyle influencer because we talk about traveling with Air France or Air Côte d'Ivoire. We create baby content because I'm a new mom. So I work with brands, to create content for the mom and dad community following me on Instagram.
Vignon William says the biggest challenge as an African influencer is getting local brands to take her seriously. Many don't understand how an internet personality could have more influence than a TV commercial or a billboard along the highway.
This is a real job. It's not like 9 to 5 job. Like I answer messages all day, all night, because this is what I choose to do. But I create content every day to keep my community. I have to feed them with content, and to create that content, it's a 24/7 work.
Vignon William says she doesn't regret leaving her regular job to focus on her social media career, but that freedom comes with risk.
It's a really, really, really big activity in my head and in my husband's head, because we work together. This is a big risk that we took together few years ago, and today, mashallah, comme on dit, mashallah, everything is okay, and we really hope that it's going to be okay forever.
Vignon William expects the appetite for social media influencers will wear off in the future. By then, she hopes to have her own cooking and lifestyle brand. For now, she's baking her cake and posting it with the help of a supportive husband at home and a large community of followers and friends online.
Well, I won't try that. I can't cook. And that's where we will leave it as I say my final goodbye here on Our Voices. I wish my colleagues and the show all the best, and I thank you for always watching. I'll see you in the near future on another platform here on The Voice of America. But for now, from me, it's been a pleasure. Goodbye.
Je, unasumbuliwa na changamoto za upumuaji kama homa ya mapafu au nimonia, kikohozi na mafua makali, maambukizi ya virusi kwenye mfumo wa hewa au damu kuganda? Basi habari njema ni kwamba Bei Karo Clinic wanakuletea dawa asili na kinga ya Bei Karo yenye mchanganyiko wa mimea asilia iliyosajiliwa na Wizara ya Afya chini ya Baraza la Tiba Asili kwa namba TZ 17 TM 0052 inayosaidia kukinga na kutibu homa ya mapafu, kuyeyusha na kuzuia damu kuganda, kikohozi na mafua makali. Bei Karo inapatikana kwenye maduka ya dawa Tanzania nzima, na Dar es Salaam fika The Pharmacy na Kiete Pharmacy, JD Pharmacy, Premium Care na Oysterbay Pharmacy, au tupigie kupitia 0742 777 775 au 0710 777 339.